Hello, people. Today, let us talk about mosquitoes. So, to start with, you are their cup. You exist to feed them. They come at you, they get to you, and they like your blood. So, you know, we are talking about the mosquito that is probably living with you at your home. Probably you have taken a walk with them as you went out to take a walk. Probably it is out there on the terrace when you go there at night, or even it is taking a nap with you. So, all mosquitoes drink nectar from flowers because that is what they are supposed to do. It is interesting to note that only the female mosquitoes they drink your blood. Isn't that amazing? Until now, I used to think that it is just like all mosquitoes drink your blood, but now during my research, I got to understand that mosquitoes also drink other things like nectar, sap from the nature, and it is the female ones that drink your blood. So, you know, let us go a little back in time and think that, like mosquitoes have lasted from 143 to 66 million years ago. That is the Cretaceous period. Okay, now please understand that the geological structure of the earth has been divided chronologically into separate time zones. Okay, it started from one age, then now, then again, then again, then again. Okay, and I will make a video in details about that. So the period when mosquitoes were first developed is called the Cretaceous period, and that lasted from 143.1 to 66 million years ago. Mosquitoes also have, you know, certain virus in them that they transmit to your blood and body through their saliva, their stings, that can cause you dengue fever, malaria, and many other disease borne fever. I mean, virus borne fever. Okay. So, dengue fever is a kind of disease caused by the dengue virus that the mosquito carries. And people, it is asymptomatic. Now, what exactly is asymptomatic? It is anything that doesn't have any symptom. It is, let's say, you are affected by the common cold in some way, but you see just rashes, you know or it might be that you have no symptoms, but somewhere inside your body there is some infection going on because of the common cold. So this is what it means, asymptomatic. Okay, malaria is an infectious disease, and malaria has symptoms. They are nausea, cough, high temperature, fever, etc. So people, yellow fever is another disease caused by the mosquito. Okay, and they cause you loss of appetite, they cause you nausea, they cause you muscle pain. These are its symptoms. So be aware that, if you have dengue, dengue is very much prevalent in the tropical and the subtropical areas, and it is asymptomatic sometimes, mostly, not sometimes, but mostly. So I have this experience, like I have this neighbor who was once, affected by dengue, and the person had to be admitted to the hospital, and they developed many psychological issues like hallucination, delirium, etc. And when you encourage yourself to find out that how many death can mosquitoes cause, it is huge. It is 7 lakh 25,000 people each year. And that is so true. Like I was mentioning about this neighbor, the person's brain function were altered when they were going through a dengue fever. They developed deep and dark psychological disease. Okay, so be aware, use mosquito repellents, but also be aware of the about the pros and cons of the mosquito repellents that you use. Mosquito repellents are harmful in their own way. So maybe you can keep the doors and the windows closed and be as much safe as you can. So mosquito throughout its developmental stage goes through various forms. Now, the first form is, of course, the egg. The egg is the first form. Okay, it is when the female mosquito lays the eggs and then it changes into larva. Then it changes into another stage called the pupa. It is a little more matured stage, like right from the egg when that caterpillar like thing comes out, it is called the larva. Then again, it goes into the stage of pupa. Okay, and the final stage that you see a mosquito usually when they come out of those water areas, it is called an imago. Now, imago is a Italian and Spanish uh, term. Some say that it is Italian, some say it is Spanish, and it is the term where mosquitoes reach their final stage of life, and consequently, there is no more development to be done. Now, when somebody mentions the mosquitoes, people like you must have noticed that whenever, like, if ever you have spoken about mosquitoes to your people, you must have noticed that the mosquitoes have stings in them, and that is what we mostly talk about because they use the stings to bite you, okay, to give you the infection. But its legs that are thin and delicate is hardly as 3 to 6 millimeter long. Okay. Now, what I find the most fascinating about the mosquitoes are its wings. Okay. So the wings of a mosquito are, they differ from one species to the other and they are transparent in color. Sometimes you must have noticed that it also reflects the sunlight and it has a very, like a rainbow like texture, like it gives off different colors when the light reflects on it. So it is very fascinating to observe the wings of a mosquito. So there are different kinds of mosquito. There is Chironomidae, are a kind of mosquito, and some scientists out there they mention that it is a species of an insect that looks like a mosquito, but it is never a mosquito. Also, Anopheles mosquitoes can fly up to 4 hours continuously for 1 to 2 kilometers per hour. Toxorynchites are also called elephant mosquitoes. It is a genus of mosquitoes that are diurnal, and anything that is diurnal, diurnal, it means that they stay awake at daytime and they are colorful mosquitoes that are found within 35 degree of the globe to 35 degrees south. I mean 35-degree north of the globe to the 35 degrees south of the globe. It is interesting that the toxyrhynchites do not eat food and instead they feed on sap, plant nectar, and also they feed on decomposing plants. Pheromones, what is the thing? Pheromones, chemical element that are let out by organisms. So there are these mosquitoes, toxorynchites, They do not eat food, but like there are these pitcher plants where the insects go in and die because of the starchy uh, sap inside it. And like these mosquitoes, they go inside the pitcher plant to feed on these dead insects. Let us also take note that mosquitoes develop its eggs by eating blood. And it is true. Female mosquitoes, before laying their eggs, they find a host where from they can drink blood, and they land on these hosts. They suck as much as they can, and then this female mosquito, she goes on to a restive mode for 2 to 3 days, after which the eggs are laid and the larva comes out of it. And then this mosquito goes on to the same cycle all over again, like finding a host and drawing blood, developing the egg, etc., etc. So a female mosquito lives in the wild for an average of 3 weeks, and you know it survives till it doesn't get attacked by the host or any other predator or anything else. Maybe it is trying to draw blood from some animal and the animal suddenly kills it. Okay, or it gets attacked by another prey. So during monsoon, people from the authority come and ask, like you must have these people who come to your home during the monsoon, especially around the afternoon time, and like people from the municipality, they wear these very bright colored jackets and they come with this spray, mosquito repellent spray, and they ask you that do you have some empty pots in your household where there is stored water, stagnant water, and if you have these for very long, you should put it out, you should throw away the water. If you have put some pots and tumblers up there on the terrace, you should throw it away, so that mosquito larva doesn't get accumulated there. Now, I was talking about the pitcher plant, right? So the pitcher plant that they are this carnivorous plant that looks like a tumbler with an automated lid, and Weomia smithi breeds in the larvae of the drowned insects that are inside the pitcher plant. So, like I mentioned, like these insects that get into the pitcher plant and they die and their body starts to decompose. These Weumia smithi, they get into the pitcher plant and they feed on the dead bodies. So here is an interesting fact about you. Ophiphase fuscus, often known by its Maori name, Nairua, can often breed in salt marshes. It is an endemic species and it might soon become extinct. So now it is maybe time for us to note, people, that even though mosquitoes are harmful for us, when they become endemic and when they become extinct, we might lose some balance in the biodiversity. And I'm not sure how it helps us, I'm not sure completely how it affects us, but it, of course, alters the game out there, the game of nature. So, you know, when it becomes endemic, it will soon become extinct. And it is important to understand that when a species goes from, very much prevalent to endemic, any slight alterations, any change in the climate can make it extinct. And once a species becomes extinct, it is very difficult to almost impossible to bring it back in its usual form. Some mosquitoes feed on amphibians. Some feed on reptiles. Some also feed on snakes, birds, and mammals. For example, Culiceta melanura sucks the blood of passerine birds. The passerine birds are very, very different, exquisite kind of bird. And also, when the same mosquitoes in the same species, when their population goes through a ride, arise, you know, they start to feed on horses and human beings. So there is this disease called the Eastern equine encephalitis in North America. It is a sleeping sickness, and it is also, I know it is mentioned as EEE, and it is very much prevalent in North America, and it is caused by mosquito bites. Some malaria causing mosquitoes can even feed on caterpillars, okay, slowing their development. So, these mosquitoes, once they start to feed on caterpillars, because I think the caterpillars have not developed that much, they start to, like their development gets stopped, okay. So, Anopheles fly over the water. It is a species of mosquito Anopheles. They fly over the water and they lay its cigar-shaped eggs that have floats down their sides. It has this floating mechanism. Like even though the eggs are cigar-shaped, like this, it has floating mechanism on their sides. And female mosquitoes lay from 100 to 200 eggs on a daily basis. Mansonia females lay their eggs in arrays, attached usually to the undersurface of water lily pads. Also, mosquitoes have an olfactory uh, character. It means that they have this smelling power through which they can locate you just by smelling your blood. Isn't that amazing? They can even smell carbon dioxide, they can smell your breath, they can smell the other elements that you give off during your respiration. They get mostly attracted to red, orange, and other skin colors. The many ranges of skin colors are the things that attract the mosquitoes. So, irrespective of the climate, the weather, whatever it is, mosquitoes have a cosmopolitan distribution occurring in every land region except in polar and subpolar climates. Okay. Now let us go to a very important part of this video, effect of climate change in mosquitoes. El Nino, the climate change in the tropical Pacific Ocean, makes a number of outbreaks in East Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, and India. Climate change impacts the seasonal factors and in turn the dispersal of mosquitoes. Now it is important to notice people that even without understanding how this is going to work, how does El Nino uh, affect mosquitoes, the presence or the exist or the extinction of them, it is important to understand that if something gets extinct because of any reason, there is a long term effect that even us, we humans, have to face. So maybe it is time for us to gather and work towards climate change so that we can help each other out. Now, let us talk about mosquito nets. You know, so the idea of mosquito nets brings a lot of memories in our lives. It brings a lot of memories in my life, doesn't it? It makes me feel, like a child, and it makes me go back to those old days when mosquito nets were a thing. Okay, I remember this very happy and cheerful incident in my life where mosquitoes were you know mosquitoes were so much prevalent out there. I used to be happy about them. But then I would often wake up finding my parents like slapping the mosquitoes that might have entered through the mosquito nets. And I would just look around counting on how many mosquitoes were killed and observing the blood that was coming out of it. And it brings back so many memories in my life when I would have these competitions with my classmates, like how many could you kill, how many could they kill. So let us talk a bit about the mosquito repellents like chemical DEET and other insect repellents. Sometimes very similar kind of insect repellents can also be used to disperse of the mosquitoes. So CDC recommended repellents are like picaridins, eucalyptus oil, etc. I'm sure that like irrespective of where you are, you must have some. sort of incense sticks and other things that can be used as mosquito repellent. So, do you use one? Just let us know. Also, like, let us talk a bit about the mosquitoes and not what keeps them away. Like I've mentioned before, that repelling the mosquito is one thing, but doing something that will completely wipe them off the pyramid is probably harmful. Like even without knowing the deeper mechanisms of how this works, it is probably harmful. Okay, climate change will not really help us with anything other than increasing the number of mosquito bites that we get every year. It will help the mosquitoes to lay more eggs because of the increased heat, and we shall not even realize that we have made these diseases a norm. So, both ways, it is a danger that we are going to face. If these animals, insects, plants, situations that are dangerous, dark, and harmful, they are wiped out of the planet because of the dangers it poses. Are we ready for the changes that they will cause? Are we sure that the removal of a species is going to cause just a positive impact on our lives? I'm sure no. Okay. Also, it is also a concern that by 2080, because of the increased climate change, increased heat in the globe, mosquitoes, mosquito bites will increase, and so will dengue, malaria, fever, etc. Now, it is interesting to know that, like many other animals out there, even mosquitoes have their own fossils. Fossils of mosquito have been found from as early as 125 million years ago. Burmese amber. So amber is this very solidified resin from a tree or something in the nature, and it mostly from the bark of a tree. It is like light yellow to green to dark brown, sometimes even black, red. It goes in that color range, and some insects, animals are usually found trapped in these amber fossils. When they lay, like solidified under the earth for so many years, you can understand that we will find these fossils and make a note about what was going on out there. So amber for from Myanmar, which dates to the earliest part of the Cenomanian age. So Cenomanian age is, you know probably millions of years ago, millions and millions of years ago. And these mosquitoes that we today, work like, whenever I go out with anyone, my father, to the nearest grocery shop, I find this all out, mosquito repellent incense sticks. Just imagine that there is something that you are working up against has been out there for so long. Okay. Now, Burmese amber from Myanmar, like I mentioned, it dates back to millions of years. It comes from the late Cretaceous era, about 99 MYA, that is million years ago. So the late Cretaceous era is something that is, you know, the late Cretaceous era is another geological time scale, and it is also, uh, I think it is, I have to check which other geological time scale it is close to, and there were many other animals, I'm sure, prevalent in this era. So, also, like from Canada, there were some species of mosquito which were found as early as 79 million years ago. There are till now over 3,600 species of mosquito, and they are traditionally divided by the scientists into two subfamilies. So the two subfamilies that are divided by the scientists are Allophili- Allophelinae, and the other is Culicinae. So out of the 3,600 species, the mosquitoes are divided into these two, the Allophilinae and the Culicinae. Also, another interesting fact about these is that nothing is complete without a bit of mythology. So in ancient Greece, we have the stories of elephant and the mosquito and the bull and the mosquito, and it is a very moral story. Okay, another thing is that the Serbian people from Serbia, they have certain myths about mosquitoes that talk about mosquitoes arising from the ashes of the people, which can be understood because of the blood sucking nature of the mosquitoes. In Japan, mosquitoes are seen as reincarnation of blood sucking spirits. Now, let me give you a bit of my experience with these tiny little creatures. Like, even though they are very minuscule and they suck your blood, but they do give us a purpose of being, right? For example, if you're that lazy person, you can just maybe you have gone out in the terrace to think that what you will do next, how productive you can be next. And instead, you go and you think that that there is this mosquito that you need to slap, then the next, then the next, then the next, then you make a fancy statement in your head about the mosquito, like, oh my god, there are so many mosquitoes out there, and this area is so filled with mosquitoes. Maybe you need to cut the plants, maybe you need to do this, do that, spray something, to get the mosquito. Like, I had this friend of mine long back, she was into she was working at a bank, and then I would notice how she would spray room fresheners like anything to get the mosquitoes out of her room. And whenever we would pass by her room, it would smell like of very strong perfume. And it and sometimes she would walk with the that bottle of mosquito repellent in her hand, and she would keep on spraying here and there, and she would do that just to keep the mosquito, like. And everybody, every other passing human would stare at her and would notice that, oh my god, what is going on? And in turn, some would even notice that, some would even joke that you were the reason why the areas could stay out of mosquito. So, to give you a bit of my experience with these little creatures, I must mention that I have once, like, I was traveling to a place by bus, and mosquito, like a few mosquito, kept on biting me around my ankle. And I just could not figure out that why is it that like, when mosquitoes are usually found in dark places, like a bus would have a mosquito, how were they sustaining themselves inside the bus? How is that even possible? Is it global warming? I think it is because of the global warming that these mosquitoes were there in the bus. And I was like, how is it possible? Like, even one day during my taxi ride, I noticed that there was this little mosquito that kept on biting me on my forehead, and I just couldn't slap it away. But it kept on biting me, and I was like, god, these days they even come inside the taxis while they should be present out there in some green zone. Then when we think about, green zones, we also think that, what will happen to the existing green zones that we have today if we don't preserve them? Like, do we have more green zones? Sometimes when I think about it, I feel like, okay, yes, we have more green zones than we had before. Sometimes I feel like looking at the amount of development, industrialization going on, we might lose out on a lot of green zones. But of course, everybody is coming out there doing their bit and making their own balance. So, yeah, that is my take on the mosquito. And the most funny thing that I wanted to put across is that sometimes I find myself guilty to, slap a mosquito and kill it. Why? Because I feel like, oh, it is this lonely little creature. Of course, it is going to harm me in one way or the other, cause me dengue, malaria, whatnot. It has claimed lives. Sometimes I feel sad that I wish I could help this mosquito instead of killing it. And when I look at it, that, like it has sucked a bit of my blood, I feel like, okay, it's okay that, it is just some blood. But the more I educate myself, the more I feel a bit sorry and scared that we don't have these particular uh, compartments. We understand that there are some things in the wild that are dangerous for us. We also understand that, what is dangerous is also independent and an individual. So mosquitoes, if because of our discomfort towards them, if because of the harm that they pose upon us, if we wipe them out, how are we going to restore the balance that they provide in the ecological structure for free? Okay, tigers, etc., etc., they are harmful to us, but if we wipe them off, if we hunt them down, if we kill them, how are we going to restore the balance that they provide to us? Is there any definite answer? Are you determined that you can think about it? Let me know in the comments.